So who woke up? Who was left over?
Two sons. No, he had two sons, no?
Rav Omar Asara, two sons.
Two sons, yeah.
Shenemar Sha'ar Eitziara Mispar Yu V'nar Yichtevim Kaman Nar Yochel Lichtev. How much? What number can a child write? So the Gemara says Asara. I thought the reason why a child can write Asara is because you have 10 fingers, so you could count to 10 with your fingers. But the Mefarshim say another reason. Reason is because Rashi says because 10 is Yud. Yud is just a tipa shel diyah, it's just a drop of ink. Anybody can write a drop with a drop of ink. Anybody can just put a drop of ink. That's why even a nar could write it. And that's what was left over from the army. Is Shmuel Omar, and Shmuel says Tisha. Shmuel says 9. 9 people were left. Shenemar v'nishar boy oileilois kenoikev zayis shnayim shloisha gargrim b'sh omer abba chamisha b'sifel. 14 people were left over. Rabbi Yochanan and Omar, Rabbi Yochanan says, Natan, we're like 7 lines in the bottom of Tzadi Hamad Beis. 7 lines in the bottom of Tzadi Hamad Beis. Pesach, nice to see you. Welcome. Looking good, by the way. I love the way everything is matching. Rabbi Yochanan and Omar Chamisha, it's 5. Sanhedrin was 1. Shnei Banav is 2 sons. Nebuchadnezzar was Unvuzaradan. I always grew up calling him Nuvuzaradan. It's not Nuvuzaradan. According to art school, the way they are putting the Nakudas here, it's Nuvuzaradan. Okay. Yeah.
Not the Rish.
Not the Rish. Exactly.
Yeah, Parsi, Nuvuzaradan.
What was it?
Nuvuzaradan, no?
Nuvuzaradan Gemara. Now the Gemara, it's a Messiah. It's not in the pasuk. How do we know Nuvuzaradan was?
Yeah.
By the way, you know who Nuvuzaradan was, right? In history, you know who he
10
was.
tribes in Sosh Spartan.
Oh, you don't know Nuvuzaradan? You know what Titus of Russia was?
Destroyed the base of Mikdash.
Yeah, sure.
Titus, we know, right? Titus destroyed which Beis Hamikdash?
I think you know Purim was also.
We were just in Rome. You better know this, right?
Nice.
The second one, yeah.
The second.
Yeah, of course.
Was he emperor or was he general?
General.
He was a general. The emperor was his father.
Yeah. He never was.
Vespasian, right? I feel so proud that I know all this history. I was just in Rome. So I know.
Was his uncle. His uncle.
Yeah.
His uncle. The brother of his mother.
Is what?
He was a Caesar. The brother.
His father was a Caesar.
No, his brother.
Titus's father was Vespasian.
Really?
Yeah. I was just in Rome. I studied the history.
Yeah, you're right.
So now you have the general that destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash was his name Nuvuzaradan. Right? He was the general of Nebuchadnezzar, and we'll see soon. Anybody know what happened to Nuvuzaradan after he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash and he killed millions of Jews?
He did the shuvah.
Became a Ger, converted. Okay, we'll see soon.
Just like
Uncles.
Vespasian also did the same thing. That was the
No, his nephew.
Who killed Zechariah?
Uncleus.
Keep on going. I'll remember the Maisa.
Yeah. Okay.
Who killed
Vespasian,
Zechariah?
died as
Who killed
a Russian.
Zechariah Navi?
Yeah. Okay, Zechariah. Very good. That's what we're going to see.
That's the story.
No, the Jews killed Zechariah because they didn't like his prophecy that
the blood boiling. Right.
so the blood was boiling the whole time. Okay.
That's what he did. Tshuva. Oh, right.
So Lamaisa, take a look. It's unbelievable who was left over. The people who were left from the army of Sanhedrin literally destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. They caused such havoc. Those few that were left, according to Rabbi Yochanan, 5 people were left. Sanhedrin, his 2 sons, that's 3. Nuvuzaradan, the general who destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash, and Nebuchadnezzar, who is the king of Babel, who was the boss of Nuvuzaradan. Says the Gemara, Nebuchadnezzar, how do we know Nebuchadnezzar was left over? It says in the pasuk of Daniel, "V'revei di rava damei lebar lehein, v'ilab dechazia menavi yada." Amaisa, it says Nebuchadnezzar when he threw Chananya, Mishal, Nazariel, how are you? Nice to see you. When he threw he saw 4 figures in the fiery furnace. Who's the 4th? The Malach. Gemara says, how did he know it was a Malach? He says, wow, there's a Malach in there. There's an angel. So we think of a Malach as having Kanafayim. I never saw an angel, but this is the way they describe it. I'm not sure who drew the angel. Kachamrim. Okay. Yeshlam Kanafayim. But Nebuchadnezzar did see an angel. You know when? The night that the Malach came and killed out the entire army and he was left alive. He was a survivor. So he saw the angel. So years later, when he threw Hanan Mishav Zarasha in the fiery furnace, he saw a 4th figure. He says, "My gosh, that's an angel! That's an angel! How did he know what an angel looks like?" Gemara says, because he saw it on the night when Sancheriev's army was killed out.
Why was he so good to see one?
Okay, we'll see. Nebuchadnezzar, actually, we'll talk about it in a
He
moment.
took 4 steps.
Hashem wanted to have converts come out of Nebuchadnezzar. There's the steps. Very good. The steps, yeah. Yeah. Steps achar. Sanhedrin b'shnei banov. How do we know Sanhedrin and the 2 sons were left? So we see that his 2 sons were left over alive. We'll talk about it in a moment. What? Nisrech, yeah, base Nisrech Elikav.
ניסרוך אלוקיו זה חתיכה של תיבת נוח. תסתכל מה שרש"י אומר.
What does Rashi say here?
חתיכה של תיבת נוח. ניסרוך זה נסר של עץ.
Wow.
It was his עבודה זרה.
Wow, that's amazing.
He took this, והוא רצה להקריב את
Okay, Rashi doesn't say it over here.
He wanted to sacrifice 2 sons to the ניסרוך אלוהיו.
We're going to see... Yeah, we're going to see in a moment. The Gemara is going to tell that story in a moment, yeah. By the way, Adar Melech and Sharetzer, I saw in the Ramami Panu, they bring from the Ramami Panu, he has a sefer called Gilgulei Neshamas, that they came back much later in history as Gilgulim. They were in this Galgal, and you wouldn't believe whose bodies much later in Shmaya va'Avatalion.
Wait, who got
The 2 sons of Sanhedrin, who Rishoim, we're going to learn about them in a moment, they came back much later. The Gemara is going to say that from Sanhedrin's grandchildren, there were those who learned Torah Barabim. Who were those people? Shmaya and Avatalion. And they were Gilgulim from Sanhedrin's 2 sons. Incredible. Now here we have an amazing Gemara. It's a story that Rabbi Vo says, Amr Bavo, Ilamole Mikra Kosev. If the pasuk wouldn't tell us this, you wouldn't be able to say such a story. It's almost apikorsis. Dichsiv, Bayoimahu, Yigalech Hashem betar, Haschira be'evrei nohar, be'melech Ashur. As a roish, v'sar ha'raglayim, v'gam es hazoken tispe. Hashem gave a haircut. He cut off all the hair of Sanhedrin. So the Gemara tells the story. How did it happen? Hashem appeared to Sanhedrin like an old man. When in history did Hashem appear to Am Yisrael like an old man? Where? Anybody know? Like an old man. Where did Hashem appear in history like an old man?
Did he come to the tent of Avram Avinu like an old man?
Like an old man? Those were the malachim. He was
maybe I'm making
that it's gedoyle chnasa sarcham yoser mekabel because he left Hashem behind. How do you know he appeared like an old man? Where did Hashem appear like an old man? The Gemara says, Hashem can do anything.
Who came to feed the children by the
It's not Hashem's essence, but Hashem gives an appearance. So Hashem appeared by the Yam like a warrior, and by Matan Torah, it says he appeared like a zaken. But another time in history, you find Hashem appeared like an old man, right here by Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin was a fugitive. He ran. Imagine that. You know, when I was learning this Gemara for the first time, you know which image came to mind? I was thinking about Saddam Hussein. Remember he was found in the bunker? Yeah? Mamish like disheveled, like he wasn't like he had $750,000 cash. You know, it was like, great Saddam Hussein, right? The greatest dictator. Here Sanhedrin was running. He was running. He had an entire army, 2.6 billion, running alone with his 2 kids and a couple of people. Yeah, Hashem appears to him. Suddenly appears to him like an old man, and he has a conversation with him. Amar le, Hashem says, "Ki azlas legabe malchim mizrach ha'ma'ariv." When you're going to go back to all the kings in the east and the west, the aitasinu levnayu ktaltinu, that you used their sons to come. You gathered up all your army consisted of all those children of those kings, the citizens in different countries, to come and fight the Jews, and now all of them were killed as a result of you bringing them here. My Amritlu, what's going to be your excuse? What are you going to tell them? Amalei, Sanhedrin said, Hahu Gavro, Bahu Pachdanami Yosef. You can't imagine how anxious I am. He told this old man, he didn't know it was Hashem himself. He said, I'm so afraid to go back. Amalei, Hashem said, so Amalei, so he said, Hey Chanavid, he said to Hashem, what should I do? Didn't know it was Hashem again. Old man, Amalei, so Hashem said, Zil, Vishani Nafshach, and go hide yourself. Change your appearance. Yeah? Purim. Purim. Just make sure that change your identity. You ever see these shows where they change some
protection program?
Protection program, yeah. Change your identity. So he goes, B'mayishani, how can I hide? Well,
he made fun of it.
You don't realize?
Yeah, right now. Amalei.
Pari and Sanhedrin both have a similar phenomenon.
Yeah.
But the whole creation of everyone died. Besides his part, he became a king in Nineveh.
Yes.
Sanhedrin
Sanhedrin also survived. Very interesting. I don't know. We have to look into the Gilgul and Neshamas over there, whether there's a Gilgul or not. Also happened on Pesach night, right? So he said, Zil Aisa Limasper, go bring me scissors. Hashem says, right? Old man says to Sanhedrin, go bring me scissors. Ve'egezyach, and I'll give you a haircut. Pesach. Yeah, you could have been there. Ano mehecha Aisi. Yeah? So he says, how can I get scissors? Go into that house. There's scissors in that house. Go bring me some. So when he came to the house, so he found over there also Malach HaSharis, like a Gavri. The Malach HaSharis, the angels appeared like they were, the people who were living in the house. And they were grinding the pits of dates. They were grinding the pits of dates. I was watching Rabbi Eli Stefanski's shiur, and he had actually a video of people grinding the pits of dates. It's like amazing.
But
We love your Rebelli. Yeah.
The Bedouin.
Yeah.
The Bedouin. In the desert. This is their coffee.
This is their coffee?
Yeah, you never drink.
I didn't know that.
Dates coffee?
They were
That's
drinking
not-
coffee. The Malachim, they were preparing coffee. Okay.
That's not my cup of tea.
Amar Lahu,
Cup of coffee.
Havali Maspera. So Sancheriv said to them while they were working and grinding these pits, he says, can I borrow some scissors? Amar Lei, T'choin Chad Griva de Kashyasa. You come over here and grind a little bit, earn your way, and then we'll give it to you. Kitzer, Ad the Asa Ichshach. By the time he finished grinding, and he came back to the Zakin, to the old man, was Kaviyach, was Hashem, so it got dark. Amar Lei, so the Zakin said, Zil Aisenura, go light a fire. Ozlava Aisenura, he lit a fire, Bahad the Kanafach Lei, and as he's blowing on the fire to make it big, Itlabe Nura Bedikne. He's trying to get the fire going, and the fire catches onto his beard. Ozl Gazia L'Reisha Vedikne. So Hashem completely gave him a giluach, gave him a haircut. Amru, the Bnei Yeshiva said, that even the beard you won't have anymore. That you will have, it'll be consumed. The beard was burnt. The beard was burnt. If when you burn the beard of a nachri, he is satisfied, and then you will never stop making fun of him. In other words, you'll be able to, if you give a haircut to a nachri, you totally shave his head, and he is satisfied, then go the next step and burn his beard, and then you'll be able to have a good time. So over here, the Ben Yoda has an interesting pshat al pi Kabbalah. I thought it was very interesting to say it over tonight because Lamaisa, Pesach is coming, and
Pesach is here. I knew you were going there.
Pesach is right here.
Yeah.
He says like this. It's very interesting. He says, the Ramban in Parshas Lech Lecha says, Kol davar ruchni lamala. Anytime there's a spiritual energy that has to come into the world, right? Even if it's a miraculous energy or something Hashem wants to make happen in the world, shenasa kenegda poyol demyoni lamata bagashmius, that you do a physical act in this world that's similar on a microcosmic level. It's similar to the spiritual energy, to what the vision Hashem has, He wants to bring for the world. Then yiskayim itay davar v'lo yipasek. That'll solidify that ruach ruchni, and it'll make sure that it manifests into the world and it stays. It happens. So he says, he brings many examples. The Ramban brings these examples. The Ramban says, for example, when Yirmiyahu Navi prophesied on Bavel, so he wrote down the prophecy on a paper and he gave it to his student Baruch ben Uriel, and he told him to tie it with a string and hang a stone on it so it gets some weight, and to throw it into Prus, to throw it into the river. And he said, as you're throwing it into the river, I'll tell you, this is how Bavel is going to go down in the future. So the Ramban says, you see that you needed to do some physical act, Poyel demyoini lamata, that's going to be Mekayim, that's going to solidify, concretize, and manifest the Nevuah that is Lamala. And he says also, he gives other examples, And the Ben Yoda says that's shofar, that's lulav. A lot of the stuff we do, vidui, you go like this. Yeah, what's going on over here? Hashem is cleaning, right? Vasiroisia slave Evan. I remove the stone heart. So why are we going like this? Because that's a poyel demyoni lamata that we're doing now, and that is what is paving the way, so to speak, for the davar rochni to come into this world. So he says that's what Hashem was doing over here. Hashem, first of all, cut off his beard and cut off his head, the hair on his head, the hair on his beard, all the klippas. He says why? Because the Sanhedrin, two great tzaddikim were supposed to come out. We'll see soon. Shmaya and Avtalion. And he says Shmaya was the Nasi, yeah, and Avtalion was the Roish Av Bezdin. So he says the Nasi was the Roish. Hashem cut off his head, the hair on his head, to take away whatever good nitzoitz he had on his head that's eventually going to come out of him and bring Shmaya into the world much later, that is going to be the Roish of Klal Yisrael. No, it wasn't the Nazir, no. And the Zaken is for the Avatalion that was Av Bezdin, and Lamais, and the grinding of the pits of the dates, he says, was taking the klipa itself of Sanhedrin, which was bad, and grinding it up and be mavatal the whole klipa. So this is al derech Kabbalah. It's very Kabbalistic, but the idea is true in all of Jewish life. Yeah, comes Simonim, the Seder. You have Kaddish Urchatz, carpet out all the Simonei HaSeder. You think it's a Simonim. What are Simonim? It's this Ramban. It's the poyel demyoni lamata, that when we do a physical act in this world that resembles whatever davar ruchni that we're trying to access and manifest, so it should come true. That's what the Gemara, this is the story of Sanhedrin and Hashem giving him that haircut, according to the Ben Yoda. Yes. Yeah. Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. Well, see, the Gemara is going to ask you a question. Gemara is going to want to know, why didn't Nebuchadnezzar, why Hashem wanted? Hashem wanted that Gerim should come from Nebuchadnezzar, but the Malachim had a very strong taina.
The R Yoel brings the Shara Gilgulim, כל מלך שמתחיל לכבוש, אז הוא כובש גם את כל יסודות הקדושה של אותו עם. אז סנחריב כבש את כל העולם. והוא קיבץ את כל הניצוצות הקדושה של כל העולם, שאיפה שהוא כבש. ולפי הרי הקדוש מסביר שכל הניצוצות הקדושה הם מסתובבים מסביב לראש של המלך.
You're saying another pshat of why he cut off the hair.
אני אגיד לך עכשיו, למה שתיים, וגם כן למה השר, אני אגיד לך הכל. אז הרי הקודש מסביר, האמת היא שאם חזקיה היה הורג את סנחריב, הוא היה מביא גאולה לעולם. למה כל הניצוצות קדושה האלה היו עוברים מעל חזקיהו, והיה מביא גאולה לעולם. כי זה השלוש ראשונות, אתה יודע, שמעת על השלוש ראשונות, שאין לנו נגיעה בהם.
I knew you'd get excited about this because this Kabbalah stuff.
No, but even with Amalek.
מי הרג אותו? הבנים שלו הרגו אותו.
Let's go. Let's see.
הבנים שלו הרגו אותו, הם לקחו את הניצוצות, והם היו צריכים לעבוד.
They don't know yet. Well, let's go weiter. Let's go weiter. Yeah, you got to go weiter because they don't know. Ozel ashkech dapper betibusei denoyach. After Meir, Reb Shol is going to give a next level shiur on this Gemara. He saw the Teva of Noach, which you said, this is why it's called Nisroich. He pointed to the board of the Teva. He said, oh, this is the God that saved Noach from the Mabul. Omar, he said, if Sanhedrin, in other words, he's talking about himself. If I'll be successful, if I'll get out of here alive, makriv luhu l'trein b'noi kamach. He says to the piece of wood, it's unbelievable. He thought that the piece of wood, that the teva, the daf of the teva, the board of the teva is what saved Noach. Says he's like a god. It's like I'll be makriv my two sons to you. Shamu b'noi, so his sons are in the background, right? They survived, and they're listening to their father saying it. Katlu, they right away killed him. Yeah, they killed their father. This is mamish what Reb Shol said earlier. So here we have his sons alone. His sons killed him. You know, the Maisa we learned in the Ben Soira Moira, Baba Machteres, right? The whole sugi of Baba Machteres. We said usually when a father comes in the middle of the night, you're not allowed to kill him because he's innocent to proven guilty. Abba's Merachem Alav, Alabonim. But as soon as you know that the father is going to kill you, b'vadai, you're allowed to kill the father. He's a raidif.
They didn't know who that was his father anyway.
Impossible. They did.
You have a Malik also. Everyone's like, Shaul Malach, everyone's upset about Shaul. You didn't kill a god. The Gemara says also that made fun of Haman.
We'll talk about it in a moment. Yes, yeah.
So that's also, so why is Hashem upset at Shaul? Shaul would kill a god whenever the whole thing would ever happen.
It's an excellent question, and
and
we're going to talk about it.
That's
they
the
wouldn't
reason
have Shmaz either.
We're going to talk about it. It's a very good question.
That's the reason Yeshua did not kill all Amalek. Yeshua could have killed all Amalek and finish it then. Why? Because the still is a social קדושה שצריכים לבוא לעולם מעמלק ואין מה לעשות. ישוע יכול להרוג את כולם, מה ישוע? יכול להרוג את כולם. הוא לא הרג.
Says the Gemara weiter. Vayicholek aleim lailahu ba'avoda vayakem. So basically now we're going into the malach that saved Avram Avinu as well. Yeah, once we're talking about the malach that saved Yerushalayim by Sanhedrin, we're also talking about the malach. It's a good question. I don't know. Tonight, as I'm making Aliyas Neshama, I'll find out from the malachim. I'll ask them. Vayicholek aleim lailahu ba'avoda vayakem. So it says that they split up by the night to go and chase after the 4 kings that tried to kill Avram Avinu. They were at war and they were running away, so they split up and they spread apart. The malach that came to Avram and helped him beat the kings, his name was Laila. That it wasn't a malach, but it was the Laila itself helped Avram Avinu. Shenemar min shamayim nilchamu akechavim im siloisam nilchamu im sisra. So Amar Rish Lakish says, he said to Rabbi Yochanan, Tova de Nafcha, I like Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha's pshat more than Midbar Nafcha, from the son of Nafcha. Who's the son of Nafcha? Rabbi Yochanan was the son of Nafcha. What's really interesting,
the stars came and they burnt his armor, right? He went into the creek and then he was like...
Heated
The
up.
sun's right.
He got burnt by the stars.
who's this?
Sisra.
Oh, Sisra was got burned by the stars?
I thought
Min shamayim nilchamu akechavim im siloisam nilchamu im Sisra.
It was the stars that came and they burned him in the river. His armor was so hot and he got cooked.
He almost thought he went.
That's what happened, yeah.
They went to the Nachal Kishon. Nachal Kishon to cool the tent.
Yeah, to cool them down,
Cool
yeah.
the tent. And then Nachal Kishon took them to the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
You want to see that now in Gaza, huh?
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting.
That's what I want.
Very interesting. So this is what it
I
is.
want to see it with my eyes.
Rashi says Rabbi Yochanan was called Bar Nafcha. Rashi has 2 pshatim. Why is Rabbi Yochanan called Bar Nafcha, the son of a blacksmith? So he says because
He's a holy blacksmith. Like Yochanan Samad, you know?
אתה מבין איזה צדיקים היו blacksmith, אבל היו יכולים לדבר עם הקדוש ברוך הוא. איזה דבר זה.
because his father was Taka a blacksmith.
Yochanan Samad, you know?
It's very interesting. His father was Taka a blacksmith. That's why he's Bar Nafcha, the son of a blacksmith. Other Mefarshim say, Rashi brings, is the Mefarshi, Rabbi Yochanan was so handsome, so good looking, and we know that Rish Lakish jumped over the river. He thought Rabbi Yochanan was a woman, and then he met Rabbi Yochanan, and he saw he was a man. So Rabbi Yochanan said, I'll give you my sister, Chelach Lairaisa, the whole story in Baba Metzia, in Pevav. So here, he's called the Bar Nafcha. Why is he called Bar Nafcha? B'loshen Saginar. We don't want to draw attention to his beauty, so we say the opposite. He was a blacksmith, like Isha Kushis. You find by Tzipora, the Torah calls her Isha Kushis, a black woman. She was beautiful, but it tries to kind of Einhara. You know, this is Ben Porat Yosef. So here we have a Bar Nafcha. So the Gemara says, Vayirdav ad Dan. They chased, Avram chased the 4 kings until dawn. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ki Meshaboy is a tzaddik ad Dan. Why was it only till dawn? When he came to dawn, Toshash Koichai, he got weak. Ra b'nei bonav shasidin lavad v'dezar b'dan, because he saw Baruch HaKodesh that his grandsons will do Avodah Zarah and done. Who was the grandson that did Avodah Zarah b'dan? Is Yeravam ben Nevat. When he split up the kingdom with Rechavam ben Shloima and Yeravam ben Nevat, Yeravam ben Nevat didn't want anybody to go up to Yerushalayim to be Oile Regel, so he put 2 Egels, Agalim, by Beis El and Dun, And that's where they started Avodah Zarah. And Avram Avinu, years earlier, was able to sense the tumah in Avodah Zarah and done, and therefore it weakened him. And he couldn't chase the kings further. So here too, this Russian Nebuchadnezzar was not able to conquer Klal Yisrael until he came to Dan. But Dan had a kitrug on it. It wasn't a place where, unfortunately, there was Averis done over there. So Dan, no pun intended. So they were done. Yeah. So the interesting part is, Rabbi Chana Wasserman, they say, and I tried to verify this from a fellow who is an expert on the history of Rabbi Chana Wasserman. His name is actually Rabbi Chanan Baranovich. Rabbi Chana Wasserman was the Rav in Baranovich. His name is Rabbi Chanan. His last name is Baranovich. He's named after Rabbi Chanan. And I asked him this. I said, is it true when Rabbi Chanan came to America, they say that he passed by Times Square and he said, get me out of here immediately. He sensed he couldn't bear the tumah of Times Square, so he was like able to,
Back then.
It was back then, talking about the 1930s, early 1930s. Yeah, back then. The overwhelming tumah in Times Square. You ever heard this, Maisa?
Of course I heard.
Yeah, so here, Avram Avinu sensed, done. It didn't even happen yet. But Tashash Kaichai, a person is spiritually in tune, he's able to sense.
Times Square,
That's what I'm saying, whatever it wasn't what it was today. Even if it was Times Square, it wasn't what it was today.
But you have an Asher Ephraim and Goshen and in Mitzrayim, that was, the Mem Test over there, they were still able to be developed.
Yes, yeah.
1930 was dirt, it was not...
Yeah, says the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Zeira. Afagav the Shalach Rabbi ben Beseiro. Afagav the Rabbi Beseiro Tiven. Izaru Bezakan. Sheshachach Talmudai Machmas Ansoi. Make sure to give honor to an elder that forgot his learning because he's an oinus. If it's not an oinus, then he's chayv misa. You're not allowed to forget your learning. We're all in trouble. But if it's machmas oinus, then you Then you should still give him respect. You should still give him honor, right? Which personality in Shas forgot his learning?
Even Moshe Ben forgot his learning when he went.
Got one. Yeah.
With the Harsina.
What is that? Rav Yosef forgot his learning. Rav Yosef forgot his learning. And Rav Elazar ben Arach forgot his learning also. He said, got his learning.
That's the most famous story.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Who was Mispalo before he went there? It's Israel. So you should forget all.
Reb Zera. That was Reb Zera. This is mamish just Reb Zera. It's interesting you point this out. Reb Zera says, even though Shalach Yehuda ben Beseirim and Etziv and Azar Bezak and Shach Talmud the Machmas Ansoi, V'Zar Bevridin Kereb Yehuda, those two halachas, Zar B'vnei Ha'aretz, and the third is V'Zar B'vnei Ha'aretz, Shemehen Teitzei Torah. Be very careful with Amei Ha'aretz that from them comes out Torah li Yisrael. So you have to be mechabed. The Talmidei Chachamim that came out of Amei Ha'aretz, Amei Ratzim. Be mechaber them. Shemehen teitzei Torah, right? Because Amaretz themselves have to be mechaber also. But kihol milsam edinalu, you have to notify them this thing. What is this thing that you have to notify them? So Rashi explains, when you have a Talmid Chacham who comes from a very simple family, his father was not a great, no great stuff.
The Rashash is very
So he says, you should tell the Talmid Chacham that. Don't let it get to your head. It could be the reason why you're a zoicha to become a Talmid Chacham is because of the schus ma'at. Your father must have had some schus. So Hagam, you have to honor a Talmid Chacham, but if he's a Talmid Chacham of Ben Ha'aretz, you could tell him that. In other words, even though it sounds a little disrespectful, but you could tell him that you were zoicha to this kind of covet to be a Talmid Chacham because maybe there was a schus ma'at shaviv. That's Rashi's first pshat. Lamaisa, who was an Ha'aretz that was zoicha in Tanakh? It's clear. The Gemara Chazal say he was an Ha'aretz. He was zoicha to one of the leaders of Klal Yisrael.
No, the son
Manoach.
The son of Manoach.
Manoach. Who was Manoach? Father of Shimshon Agibor. Chazal say Manoach Ha'aretz. He was an Ha'aretz. He's a great example.
Alach
acharei Eshto. Yeah, alach acharei Eshto.
All men remember that.
Can you have zechus avos from like your mother?
Yeah.
You promise not to tell mom? What did I tell you now? Just kidding. Of course, yeah.
Even if you come in on earth, we find by Rivka, Hashem accepted the fields of Yitzchak and not Rivka because she was a daughter of
No, he was a tzaddik ben tzaddik. It was not accepted tzaddik ben Rasha.
So,
right, that's a Rasha. So a Rasha is a Rasha. So here you have Amaretz. There are many stories in Klal Yisrael. For some reason I couldn't come up with one before the shiur, but I remember over the years so many stories of Pashat Yidden who had Grace at Talmidei Chacham. Was a Pashat Yid. He had some schus.
He had schus because he went with his beard in this shul and he used his beard to clean the makom of the
הספסלים.
Yeshua ben Nun type of schus.
הספסלים, כן.
Yeah, with his beard.
with his beard.
That's beautiful. Okay, so you have all these kinds of stories. So the Gemara says you could tell him that. Gemara says Yirmiyah Novi had tainas against Hashem. He was arguing with Hashem. He says that how could it be? Madua derech Hashem tzalecha? Why do you see evil people succeed? Why do you see evil people succeed in the world? Classic question. Shalu kol bigdei boged. All these treacherous, cheaters who are living a calm, peaceful life, that have all the money in the world. Netatem, you're leaving now? This is the question you've been waiting for. Netatem gam sheiroshu. Yeah, po, achshav magalim, yeah?
I'll watch it.
Okay,
Now we're
netatem.
giving people an excuse.
Yeah, right. It's good to see it. Netatem gam sheiroshu yelchu gam also peri. How could it be that they get rooted into the ground like that, and they're able to produce fruits with all these nutrients they have? What's pshat? So the Gemara says, Maya Hadrulei, what did the Ruach HaKodesh, what did they answer Yirmiyah Navi? Who else asked that question? We know, Moshe Rabbeinu asked the question, right? Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu says, right, what did the Gemara say? What's his lashon? The Gemara says, Tzaddik v'ra'alei Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, why do, this is the ultimate question, classic question. So Lamaisa Chayv Salvavas and Shar B'Tachan deals with this question, and he gives a couple of different reasons. And one of the reasons he gives is based on this Gemara. The Gemara answers over here, because sometimes, we'll get to it, we have to stop now, but sometimes a Rasha does one mitzvah, as we could see Nebuchadnezzar did. He took a couple of extra steps in honor of Hashem, and Hashem says, I'll pay you back in this world, because whatever you get in this world is nothing compared to the next world. So let me get back in this world, and that's it. So the famous story, the joke goes, by Hashem, what do they say? One day by Hashem is 1,000 years. Elef shani beinecha k'yoyim esmar. Yeah. So a guy came to Hashem. He says, Hashem, mamish tight on cash. Please, can you lend me $1 million just for a day? Elef shani beinecha k'yoyim esmar. Yeah, man, just pay $8. She says, absolutely. Come back to me tomorrow. All right, very good.